For months, many of you have been following our journey and supporting us have known, hey, Jon and Erica are missionaries now. That's awesome. We've made that announcement a number of different times since June when we first committed to leaving our jobs and leaving our homes to serve as missionaries with the Awakening underneath IPHC World Missions.
But if you've wondered what exactly are Jon and Erica going to be doing, practically speaking, in LA as missionaries, don't worry, you're not alone and you haven't missed anything. While we've shared about our vision in churches, we've intentionally not shared many details online yet about what specifically we'll be doing. Why is that? Well, that's because we've been seeking God's heart on those things ourselves.
Something we're learning is that the relationship between faith and vision works two ways. Sometimes you have faith to obey God because you have already seen a clear and compelling vision, sort of like Israel moving from the wilderness into the promised land. In that scenario, it's vision that stirs up faith. But sometimes, however, it is the opposite. You step out in faith when the vision is still unclear because you know that God has told you to go. Like Abraham packing his whole life up and heading toward a completely unknown and unseen location. In that scenario, faith unlocks the vision.
Much of our time so far, Jon and I have found ourselves operating from that second Abraham-like scenario. It's been a journey of, God, we know you've told us now is the time to go. We know you've opened the door to Los Angeles, so we're going. As we're going, help us see what you see. And while the full details are far from all unlocked, we do believe God has given us a measure of clarity about what He wants us to do in LA and up and down the broader West Coast region from Canada to Mexico.
That said, here's our big picture. 3 focal points that we believe God is asking Jon and Erica Campbell to deploy our hearts and our energies to with the Awakening on the West Coast in Los Angeles. Our first focal point is to disciple young people. This is our bread and butter. We love and have worked with young people since we ourselves graduated from college 7 years ago. Plus, the Awakening's specific focus as the youth and college department of IPHC World Missions is discipling young people. At the West Coast base, our heart is to educate and cultivate and activate the future disciple makers of our world. We want to help raise a generation of men and women who will attack shallow faith by living audaciously for Jesus, making the Great Commission their daily way of life.
Our second focal point will be to love the city. When the Israelites were exiles in Babylon, Yahweh told His people to seek the peace of their captors, to throw down roots and pursue the shalom of God in the unusual place they found themselves inhabiting. Jon and I will also invest our lives in seeking the shalom of the city, particularly as it regards urban justice. When we look at Jesus, we see a man who lived counterculturally for the sake of others. He brought kingdom healing to sources of injustice, lovelessness, and misfortune. He loved the downtrodden, the overlooked, and the despised. Following the example of Jesus, Jon and I will partner with established organizations in Los Angeles to seek the peace of the city.
Our third focal point is to reach the unreached. Thanks to forces like globalization and immigration, Los Angeles has become a gathering place for the nations. The city, with over 10 million people, 220 languages spoken, over 140 countries represented, truly is a gateway to the world in our own backyard. And among those peoples, there are at least 17 different unreached people groups inside Los Angeles right now. Groups who have little to no access to the gospel. So our long-range strategy in all that we do, whether discipling young people or loving the city, is to better position the church to reach the unreached. Whether that is through direct relational evangelism inside Los Angeles, or it's by developing future disciple makers and leaders who God will call to places like Asia and the Middle East, where billions of unreached people are still living today. Our heart is always to reach the unreached.
There you have it, the big picture.
And everything that we do at the Awakening's West Coast International Base, whether we're leading domestic missions trips inside LA or international missions trips in places like Asia or South America or other places.
Or we're hosting discipleship conferences for young people or leading immersion experiences alongside established organizations inside LA.
Our vision is always focused on three things, intertwined and overlapping: disciple young people, love the city, and reach the unreached.
Thank you so much for watching.